Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Chamberlain, the Air Force guy, RV extraordinaire, coming from Beckley's Camping Center today to walk you through how to winterize your RV. Now, in today's video, we're going to be using a Nautilus P1 system. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do, if you haven't done this already, is make sure that your black tank is rinsed out properly. Make sure it's really clean. The only way to do that is to have a clear elbow or extension hooked up directly to where you're emptying your black tank, and you want to rinse it through really good. Now, by just hooking a garden hose up here and throwing water through that is not going to rinse out your tank. That's not going to be the most effective way. So contrary to what it tells you here, my recommendation is to close your black tank valve and go inside and watch till it gets about 2/3 full and then come back out. Make sure that if you do it that way, that you stay on task, because if you don't stay on task, you have one of two bad possibilities that will happen. First of all, if the seal on the toilet isn't good, it's going to back up into your camper. Second of all, if, let's say, your seal is good on your toilet, it's going to back up through the vent tube for your black tank, and it's going to come out all over your camper. So make sure you stay on task. Once you have that rinsed out properly, then just leave it open, because we're going to use that as part of the winterizing. So now you're going to be set up to do the winterizing in here, but let me talk to you about first things you need to do. Come inside and make sure that your water pump is off. Also make sure that your gas and electric switches for the water heater in the off position. If in fact you've just recently used the water heater and it's hot water in it, I'd recommend that you run one of the faucets until the hot water gets off. If you have to, just use a water pump if you have water in your water tank, or hook a hose up to get it cool. So after you went in and made sure the water pump was off and made sure that your water heater was not on, because if you had your water heater on, you go to empty this, it could create an issue for you. Oh, well, as a matter of fact, it will, especially if it's on the electric side. But the first thing you want to do is take the pressure off, and you can do that by opening that little valve here. This is a pressure relief valve. I know there's people out there that call that overfill valve. It is not an overfill valve. It's just a pressure relief valve. Next, and then of course then you're going to take the plug out. It's a little plastic plug, looks like this. Same thing with your low point drains. Those will be down underneath. Typically they're going to be red and blue, as you can see. Just pull those plugs off there. Now, so you do not lose the plugs, I would recommend that you set them right there. Okay, so to make it a little bit easier to follow, what I'm going to do is include down below a link so you can print off the Nautilus P1 system on how to operate this. This will include how to use it for everything: dry camping, city water, sanitizing your fresh water, winterizing, the whole 9 yards. That'll be included down below to make things a little bit simpler. Is, of course, open your low point drains and your water heater and drain those. You're going to want to turn this to power fill tank. You want to make sure that all these are turned to where they need to be. At that point, then you want to open your faucets to help facilitate the draining. And that's going to all drain out the low point drain and, of course, your water heater. On the water heater, to help it drain quicker, you can just pull up on that pressure relief valve after you get the plug out, and that will evacuate the water much quicker. Now, after you've gone ahead and opened up some faucets and you've drained everything, what you're going to want to do at this point, you're going to want to connect your air compressor to your city water water inlet here. And at that point, you only want to have a max of 40 psi. Now, prior to turning on the air compressor, what you want to do is you want to turn all of these to 45 degrees. And then you're going to turn on your air compressor and run air through here. This will ensure that it gets all of the water out of your low point drains and so forth. At that point, you're going to go ahead and stop, and then you're going to want to put the plug back in on your water heater, and the low point drain plugs in back as well. Be sure that you went through and opened all of your city faucets. You want to start here with your outside shower. You want to then go up into your bathroom, make sure you do the sink, the shower, the toilet, then the kitchen sink, as well as the sprayer port in the back by the outside kitchen. Now this is on a 28 BH reflection. Yours may be a little bit different, but you always start with the closest and work backwards. Next is going to be putting your RV antifreeze in through the system. So, to go ahead and do the winterizing, you're just going to turn it according to what it says here. You're turning it, just make sure it looks like the diagram that you have here. And now what you're going to be doing, using the same city water inlet, you don't want to have a hose too long. And it's best if you're able to set a jug up in this area versus down on the ground, or set it in here somewhere. That works best. You don't want to, it tells you not to have over a 6 foot long of a hose. So if you're putting it on the ground, that might just get to be a little bit too long. So you're better off, the shorter the hose, the better off you're going to be. At that point, what you're going to be doing is turning on your water pump, and then you're going to be starting to go to each faucet, starting with this faucet here, and you want to go into the bathroom. Again, sink, shower, toilet, kitchen sink, outside shower port, and you let it run through the hot and cold faucets until it's running a regular stream. It'll spit and sputter a little bit, but when it runs, then it's good. Now make sure that you wipe up any of that antifreeze off of your sinks and shower, because that will kind of stain that plastic, or that it just looks pretty messy. But go ahead and do that. Now, the last thing with this P1 system that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to turn all of these at the 45-degree angles for 10 seconds and then shut off your water pump. That will ensure that it filled all the lines necessary with a little bit of antifreeze, so you're not going to have the issues with freezing. Next thing what you're going to want to do is you're probably going to have to get a hand pump, and you're going to want to put a little bit past your black tank rinse. Now for those of you that were using, that had you went to your actual water pump because you didn't have the P1 system and you were using the water pump, it should have a winterizing kit on it. You're winterizing through the water pump. You're going to want to go ahead and run a little bit of antifreeze past your city water inlet, as well as your black tank rinse. Run, just a few pumps past there. That will alleviate the problem of having any freezing in there, because any little speck of water left in those systems will create an issue. At this point, what you're going to do is turn all of these back to the winterizing position, and you're going to be disconnecting your hose. When you disconnect your hoses from here, you might see a little bit of antifreeze come through. That's normal, not a big deal. Just wipe it up and you'll be good to go. Okay, so one last thing is to make sure, and I didn't mention this in the beginning, but make sure that your gray tank, freshwater tank, black tanks are all rinsed out, cleaned, all good to go. And you should be leaving the valves open for the gray, for the black, and your freshwater tank. I did not talk about putting putting RV antifreeze down in your freshwater tank. That's not something I recommend. That's not something we do here at this dealership. It'll stain the tank. It just creates issues for you later. I know some people like to do that. You can do what you wish on that, whatever works for you. But leave that stuff open. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Hopefully it helped you out. I know somebody did ask me about doing a video on winterizing, and when I went back to look for that question, it seems that I've kind of missed that question, or maybe the person deleted it. But hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be coming back at you again soon. Take care.